Hey guys, I'm Summer Turner and I'm doing my presentation on the NeoPiagetians. So, just some background. The NeoPiagetians have pretty much just built onto added, modernized Jean Piaget's developmental theory. So, Jean Piaget's developmental theory is that children go through 4 periods of cognitive development. Each period consists of different stages that a child must master or complete in order to move on to the next step. So, the first period is the sensory motor period. This is from birth to around 2 years of age. Infants understand the world in terms of physical actions, and they move from simple reflexes through several steps to an organized set of schemes or ideas. The second period is the pre-operational period. This is from about 2 years of age to 7. No longer do children simply make perceptual and motor adjustments to objects and events. They can now use symbols to represent these objects and events. They use these symbols in increasingly organized and logical fashion. So children are now using words, hand movements. They're comparing things in this period. The third period is the concrete operational period. This is from around 7 to 11 years old. Children acquire certain logical structures that allow them to perform various mental operations, which are internalized actions that can be reversed. So children are now able to kind of look back onto things and be able to think about them a little bit better than before. The last stage is the last period, is the formal operational period. This is from 11 to 15 years old. Mental operations are no longer limited to concrete objects. They can be applied to purely verbal or logical statements, to the possible as well as the real, to the future as well as the present. And that was from our textbook. So Piaget does recognize that not all children are the same, and that some children may not even be able to reach all 4 stages of cognitive development, just depending on their cognitive abilities and everything. So the Neo-Piagetians, like I said, they just kind of built on what Jean Piaget has originally said, but they do agree that structural changes in forms of stages do take place during development. The Neo-Piagetians state that lower-level concepts are integrated to form more complex, higher-level concepts. They argue that an individual could be at different stages of development for different tasks. And so Kurt Fischer is a Neo-Piagetian that really kind of focuses on that part of the development, that they can be at different stages at different tasks. So Kurt Fischer addresses variability in children's behavior and cognition. Fischer states that children's cognitive structures are not static, and that whether children express these structures or not depends on the support within their environment. Fischer elaborates that a child may be at different cognitive levels in different domains due to their experiences and environment. So if a parent focuses on teaching their children numbers, then the child is going to be better at numbers than they are their letters, just from exposure. It's more difficult for a child to excel in an area that they are not familiarized with, and definitely easier for them to learn when certain material is being exposed to them and they are practicing it. So this makes it important for parents to help their children with their development by simply counting, singing, ABCs, working on animals, colors, shapes, all of that. So another Neo-Piagetian person is Robbie Case. He addresses that cognitive changes from one period of development to the next comes from working memory, rather than going by Piaget's equilibration process. As a child's working memory increases, their cognitive changes become more complex. I think that this makes a lot of sense, especially since working memory is a newer term that probably wasn't really around whenever Piaget was doing his work. So I just think it makes a lot of sense that it's now being looked at and added into cognitive development discussions and studies. So the value of NeoPiagetian principles is that it emphasizes that all children cognitively develop at different rates and can be more or less cognitively inclined in different areas of development. I also think it is important to note that Fisher acknowledges the impact that a child's environment and social interactions have on a child's cognitive development. So I think this also kind of backs up how important it is not to compare your children, because everybody learns and is different. So it's a good thing to be different. So I have two examples of research that I found. The first one is the socio-emotional and cultural context of cognitive development, NeoPiagetian perspectives. This is by Marie Anna Soizo. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her last name. This was in 2000, and she kind of goes off of Kurt Fisher's work supporting that a child's cognitive development is increased in areas in which their environment better supports and teaches them. So like I said, if a parent works with their kids on one area, then that kid's probably going to be a little bit better in that area rather than things that they haven't been exposed to. Same like at daycares or whatever. So in this study, they were really looking at the socio-emotional and culture aspects of children's lives and comparing their development. And the result was that the study supported Piaget and Fisher's theories, stating that socio-emotional support helps a child better develop skills and cognition. Another study is by Mascolo, Canner, and Griffin. This is from 98, and this is the exceptional intellectual performance, a NeoPiagetian perspective. So in this study, it was based off of Robbie Case's theoretical perspective. So this theoretical perspective is how it's pretty much Robbie Case has kind of redone Piaget's 4 stages, and this is his own. This is his 4 stages of cognitive development. So the study was performed on 4 children with exceptional intellectual performance. So they were gifted children. Their IQs, I believe, were at least 125. The study was conducted by assessing where the children stood on Robbie Case's theoretical perspective. This is how Case addresses both developmental and domain-specific aspects of children's thoughts. The children were assessed by their working memory, responses to conceptual measures, and spatial domains or drawings. It was found that even the gifted children scored as age-appropriate on Case's theoretical perspective. None of the children scored more than 1 stage above or below the substage associated with their chronological age. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I figured a really smart child, a child with a really high IQ, would be in probably a different stage or period than a normal child or a slower child. But the study showed that even the really gifted ones were pretty much right where they should be, according to Robbie Case's theoretical perspective. So I thought that was pretty interesting. A criticism of the NeoPiagetians that I found, it's not necessarily like towards the NeoPiagetians saying that they don't agree with them, but it's definitely saying that there's some holes that they need to fix. So this is about Juan Pascal Leon. He states that there is not enough information to explain how lower level cognitive functions develop into higher level cognitive functions. Pascal Leon wants to know more about mental attention and how this helps a child develop more complex cognitive functioning. So this was an article that I found based off of one of the previous studies that I talked about by Marie Anna Soizo, and she hers was based off of Kurt Fisher's work. So this Pasquale Leon is just, he wants to know more. He's pretty much like, there's some holes you need to figure out some of this stuff. So yeah, so that's pretty much all that I have as far as talking about the Neo-Piagetians. I'm sure I've missed a lot, but this theory of cognitive development is pretty new, but I do think that Piaget was pretty spot on with his ideas about cognitive development. So other than really elaborating and learning more about the changes in the processes, the Neo-Piagetians really don't have too much more work to do in order to complete what they've started. Like, the criticism pretty much was like, we need to know more about how they go from lower level functioning to higher level functioning. So that's about the only thing that I've found that needs worked on. But I personally think that Piaget would, for the most part, agree with what the Neo-Piagetians have came up with and everything, especially with some of the new stuff that we've learned about development. So I enjoyed learning about the Neo-Piagetians. I hope you guys have too. And if y'all have any questions, just let me know and I'll get them answered for you. Thanks, guys.